Hi, this is Jim Cheshire, and in this screencast I'm going to show you how you can use detailed error pages to troubleshoot your website that's running in Windows Azure Web Sites. So I've got a website here that I created, done a little bit of work on it, and now when I browse to it, I get this error message, which doesn't tell me a whole lot. So what I'd like to do is get additional information about what's going on here and see if I can figure out how to fix this problem. So let's go back over to the portal, and I'm going to click on the Configure tab here, and I'm going to turn on detailed error messages so that I can get more information about this error that's occurring. Now when I click on right here, notice that it turns purple. That means I've made a change, but I haven't yet saved it. So I'll need to click Save and wait just a second here for that to take effect. Now that I've turned on detailed error messages, I need to actually reproduce the error again because it doesn't actually generate anything unless an error occurs while this setting is turned on. So I'm going to browse to the site again. And of course I get my little error message here. And now I need to access that detailed error message that was generated. So one of the things that customers may commonly think is that once you turn on detailed error messages, you see more error information in the browser when you browse to that page. That's not actually the way it works, because we want to make sure we're not giving any sensitive information to people who might be browsing to your website. So detailed error messages are actually saved on your server, and you'll need to use FTP to get access to those. Now there are a couple of different ways that you can FTP into your website. Let's scoot over here to the dashboard. And I'm going to scroll down here, look at this quick glance section. You'll notice a couple of links here that are of interest for us. One is the published profile. There's a link here to download our published profile. And the published profile contains some FTP credentials along with other credentials that you can use to access this particular website. So those credentials are specific to this website. There's also another set of credentials, which is the deployment credentials. Those are specific to a particular Windows Live ID or Microsoft ID. We used to call it Windows Live ID, now we call them Microsoft IDs. And you'll have one set of deployment credentials that apply to all of your websites. So for example, if I click the link here to reset my deployment credentials and I enter in new username and password for deployment credentials, that changes that username and password for all of my websites. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to use the deployment credentials here because it's just easier. I know exactly what they are. I don't have to download a published profile and go digging through that to find my big long FTP password. So I'm going to use the deployment credentials that I've already set. And to FTP in here to this site, I'm going to use FileZilla, which is a free FTP application that you can download off the internet. So the first thing that we need to include here is the host name, and you can get the host name from the dashboard in the portal. Notice here I have an FTP host name. So I plug that over here into FileZilla. And then my username, since I'm using deployment credentials, I need to precede the username with the name of this site. So this site is actually called The Site because I am just very creative at creating my site names, and I came up with that. And after the site name, you put a backslash and then your deployment credentials username. So I'm going to put that here. And then I'll enter my password. You don't have to include the port. It will automatically use the default port for you. So I'm going to click Quick Connect. And if I expand the root directory, notice that I have a log files directory. This is where all of your log files are going to be created. And I have a detailed errors directory here. And I have an error page in here that I can look at. So I'm going to right click on that and choose View Edit. And that will download that from my website and open it up. And notice here that I can now tell that the error message is actually a 500.19. 500.19s are configuration errors, and the config file it tells me is in my web.config file. So now I know exactly where to look to find out what's going on. I know that I've got an error someplace in that web.config file. And in fact, if I open up Web Matrix here, and I open up that web.config file, you'll see that there is a configuration element here that is just bogus, made up. If I remove that, save that change, and then publish, I can now browse my website and my error message has gone away. So that's how detailed error messages work. Depending on what kind of error you're seeing, you will see more information in there. For example, if you have an error message that's occurring on a particular call stack in your code, you'll see the page name and the call stack and that type of information. So detailed error messages are a great way to get more information about error messages that you might be seeing in your application, and I hope this helps you troubleshoot your applications in Windows Azure Web Sites. Thank you very much for watching.